Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Alicia and on this channel I talk all things luxury, life and fashion, so if you're interested, please stick around. So first, full disclosure, I am trying a new mic out and I've got no idea if this recording is going to go well or bad, but I was starting to get annoyed with some of the feedback that I was getting on like not using a microphone or anything, so we're going to give this a try. In today's video, I am going to be talking about cruising tips. So earlier this year, I went on a cruise with Bubs and a lot of our friends, and I knew from the very beginning that I kind of wanted to do this video, but I figured so many cruise related videos so close together was probably not the best idea. So here we are, 4 months after the fact. Now, if I give you guys every single tip that I have, we're going to be here forever. So we are going to do my top 10 cruise trips. I am no expert by any means, but I've definitely cruised now a handful of times, and so this might be of use to someone who is cruising, whether you're a first-time cruiser or even a seasoned cruiser. Tip number 1, and this is time sensitive, but in the reverse of what you're probably thinking. Book your trips in advance. I think if you go onto Royal Caribbean's website now, you can book for 2 years from now, which, let me tell you, when you see the price differences between the same cruise booked at 2 different points in time, it is a decent saving per person. Okay, we're not talking about the cost of one stateroom, we're talking about the savings per person. Now, for our particular cruise, the most recent one, we booked about 14 months in advance. I cannot remember for the life of me how much we actually paid, but what I can tell you is someone in our group booked, I think, a week or 2 weeks before we set sail, and they ended up paying an extra 600 Australian dollars per person for the exact same cruise and the exact same type of room. So book early and save. The other advantage of booking early is you only have to put down, I think it's either a $200 deposit per room or $200 per person. But if you book in advance and you pay the deposit, you have a lot of time to kind of, if you need to save or you just want to space out the payments, you have a lot of time to make the total payments, and you have to meet those payments within 90 days of sailing. So if you book 14 months in advance, you have a good almost year to pay for that cruise. Tip number 2 is to online check-in. Similar to how you would check in at an airport for a flight, you can online check-in in advance for the cruise. Now, the particular sailing will determine how many days in advance that opens, but it literally opens at midnight. And you best believe that I stayed up till midnight to like check in online, and with check-in you get to book your boarding time slot. This is really important if you want to get on early. We booked the first boarding time slot of the day, which I think was 11:30 or 12:30. It was the first one available, and apparently I'm not the only person who thought about this, because by 10 a.m. that morning, 10 hours after online check-in had opened, the first 2 boarding slots were completely full. So check in online, get your card details put down, pick a time slot that works for you so you know how to plan your day for boarding. And if that means flying in from somewhere else, you can also plan those finer details. Tip number 3 is, I'm going to say a little bit more specific to Royal Caribbean, but from what I've seen, a lot of cruise companies have this. Download the app. When I first started cruising, there wasn't an app, okay? You kind of got a daily itinerary run like the night before in your stateroom after it was cleaned, but now there is an app. And not only does the app let you plan your days on the cruise, there is a really, really good chat feature. You don't need to have an internet package to utilize it. You need to download the app while you're in port and make the group chats and everything, but it allows you to communicate with people who you were traveling with at no additional cost to you, and it makes it very, very easy to plan things. Another benefit is it literally gives you a calendar. You can put events into your calendar or things into your calendar so you can plan out your day from midnight to midnight. Now, it also lets you see the theme dinners, which I will touch on a little bit later in this video. Next one, drinks packages. Drinks packages are great if you utilize them. Keyword, if. Okay, and there are different types of drinks packages. You have drinks packages that are more soft drink kind of packages, and then others which are not alcohol, but they include the fancier non-alcoholic options, things like juices and smoothies and coffees and mocktails, for example. We purchased the deluxe drinks package, which included alcohol. And for us, it was definitely worth it. If you're someone who is umming and ahhing between a drinks package, I think you guys need to sit down and be realistic with yourself as to how many things on the package you would utilize and how much of it you would utilize. For example, for us, it was a no-brainer. Bubs is a heavyweight drinker. I'm not really, but at the end of the day, post-cruise, I think we still utilized both packages because we got the cocktails, we got the mocktails, we got the fruit juices, we got the coffee, we got the bottled water, and we utilized it. We used it for what it was. I will say an added benefit of the drinks package is you don't get a surprise bill the day before you disembark, which is what I think is one of the things with cruising. Because it is an American liner, you have the cost of the drinks, you have gratuity, tipping, it all starts to add up. So having a fixed cost that you paid before you boarded was definitely an added bonus for us. No shock bill. Next is to pre-plan your outfits. Now, there's two types of ways. I'm going to do it with one hand. There are two types of ways to pre-plan your outfits. There's the very, very detailed anal type, which is what I did, and that was this top goes with this skirt, the shoes go with this dress, this coat, this jacket. I know we cruised in summer, but I highly recommend outerwear. It doesn't matter if you're cruising in 40-degree heat, the air conditioning is going to be on 24/7. You are going to freeze. If you watched my lookbook for the cruise, I will say, full disclosure, after I filmed my OOTDs, I pretty much just threw a jumper on. It was freezing. I walked around most of the time in a trench coat of some sort. Something I've just remembered, handbags are probably not that important on a cruise. I didn't take that many bags to begin with, and I just feel like I didn't use any of them on the boat. And then on the days that we disembarked and we had port calls, I just used my Neverfull because it was larger, it fit both my stuff and Bub's stuff, and it was a good amount of space. If you own something that's like, unless it's more of a fashion statement kind of thing, if you're carrying around just your phone and your room key, you don't really need a handbag for it. Now, more importantly, what I was leading to is if you're not going to be the anal type and plan every single outfit, at least plan your dinner outfits. Now, I'm speaking more specifically for Royal Caribbean, but on a couple of nights during the cruise, you will get themed dinners. They can be things like Dress to Impress or Western or White Party or things like Tropical, Hawaiian, but you can find the specific themes within the app. Now, I think I found them 2 weeks before we sailed, so I had a little bit of time to pick up some things for Bubs. I think he's got a much smaller wardrobe than I do, so I picked up a few things so he could kind of fit in, but it's one of those things that you really, really want to get behind because the staff do it, the seasoned cruisers, they do it as well. The boat, the atmosphere, the decorations, it's all a vibe, and it's just, as some of my friends would say, immaculate. Take advantage of the activities on board. Sit down and go through the app properly. Look at what shows are being offered, what experiences are being offered. If you're on a boat that offers iFly, yes, it costs money when you're at sea, but on port days within allocated time slots, it's complimentary. Take advantage of these shows, of the activities that are on offer, even if 9 times out of 10 you are an audience member. You get to meet people, you get to talk to people. If you're a little bit more introverted like myself, you even just talk to completely random people while you're waiting for a drink at the bar. Take part, because that is one of the things that I love about cruising, and I think so many people can agree with this, is everything that you could want to do is literally at your doorstep. You leave your stateroom and you can go to the buffet and eat, or you can go to the dining hall for breakfast, lunch and dinner. You can go to the theater for a show, or up to the pool deck for the belly flop competition. If you want to go in the direction of spending a bit of money to pamper yourself, there's spas, there's massage parlors, you can get a haircut, you can get a blow dry. There's so much on offer, and there's so many amazing things that are complimentary that you don't have to pay a single dime for. Go watch the game shows. Go see the performances, the acrobats. Why not? It's all there at your doorstep. This next tip is really, really important if you want to save time. On the days that you have to tender to shore, make sure you get an itinerary and have a look as to whether it is a port or a tender. What a tender is, for those of you who don't know, is basically the boat will anchor offshore, and then you'll get in like a little lifeboat or a little ferry, and it will drive you to the mainland. This is normally for ports that aren't deep enough for a cruise ship to go into, okay? If you are tendering on any particular day, do the early bird tender. Like, I cannot emphasize this enough, because we had a total of 3 tenders and we did 2 early birds and 1 ticketed. The reason we did a second early bird is because we did an early bird first and then we did a ticket the second time, and that took so long. Now, so I've written down the times of what you can kind of save. Now, our stops were Airlie Beach and Cairns. Those were the 2 ports. We were in Cairns for 2 days as well, so 2 of our tenders were for Cairns. Airlie Beach, we made the early bird tenders and it took us an hour. We basically got the tender from the boat onto the mainland, and then we got the bus from the mainland to town centre, and that took an hour, which is realistically how long it should have taken if we went back to back on everything. The second day, we did not make the early bird tenders, and we ended up having to get like a ticket number. So think about if you like go to the butcher and you have to get like a little ticket number, and they call your ticket number and then you get on the boat. That's what we did. It ended up taking us 4 hours from when we got our tender ticket to when we made it to town, a journey that should have taken an hour. And so day 2 of Cairns, we learnt our lesson and we got the early bird tenders onto the mainland, but try and get them. Obviously, for families with young children, it's a little bit harder because you're going to have to drag them up at some ungodly hour of the morning. But if you are a group of adults traveling, just to save yourself the sanity of sitting in a pub, just get the ticket. Not get the ticket. Don't get the ticket. Get the early bird tender and just get off the boat as soon as possible. A little bit of a side tip for you guys: if you want to get off early, grab food the night before. So we had this pizza joint called Sorrento's, and next to Sorrento's was the Promenade Cafe, and they wrap up their food in like cling wrap. Don't take it off the boat. Don't do that. But what I'm saying is go to Promenade Cafe, Cafe Promenade the night before, grab those sandwiches so that when you wake up in the morning, you can eat while you're getting ready. You don't have to go up to the buffet. You don't have to go and sit down and eat and worry about that. Your food is in your little fridge and you can just buy it as you get ready and as you're walking to get off the boat. Number 8. I feel like I probably should have put this at the start, but spend time getting to know the boat. This is probably more of a day 1 thing. Pick an earlier boarding time slot, or if you board it really late, that's also fine. But give yourselves an hour or 2 just to get to know the boat. I'm not saying learn where all the nooks and crannies are, but just work out where the dining hall is, where you're having breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day. Work out the key places that you're going to visit based on what you want to do. For example, work out where the theatre is. Have a suss around of the different bars and pubs that are available, because at the end of the day, you will probably gravitate to one based on the aesthetic or the people, which we definitely did. We gravitated towards, I believe it was called Amber Oak. We just loved the vibe, we loved the staff that were there, and it was not as chaotic as some of the other bars, because some of the other bars were more jazz music and not really our vibe. We wanted to wind down, but spend time getting to know the boat, get to know your room, and try and work out how to get to your room. I think honestly, this one took us a good 2 days to work out because the elevators and the configuration of the boat takes time. You need to learn how to get around, especially if you're there for a long time. I mean, we spent a total of 10 days on that boat, which in a scope is not a lot of time, but when you're kind of on the boat the whole time, with the exception of your port days, it's a lot of time. Get to know your surroundings. This was one of my tips that everyone decided to ignore until I think like day 4. We traveled in a decent sized group. I think it was like 10 of us or something. And so the buffet was not it. Finding a table for 10 people at the buffet is kind of a circus. And something that I low-key so want to gatekeep, but I'm not going to, is the dining hall where you have dinner does all 3 meals. It does breakfast and it does lunch. Again, this is a bit more specific to Royal Caribbean, but the main dining room does 3 meals a day. You go, you line up, they ask you how many people, and they seat you. It is table service. Like, after people started listening and they worked it out that we could actually go there for breakfast and we could go there for lunch, we did it every single day. We did 3 meals a day at the main dining room because it's convenient, but also because we pretty much had the same waiter. You get an allocated waiter for dinner. It's the same group of people serving you, but the head waiter, it's not head waiter, but like there's like the waiter and then there's the assistant waiter for every table. The waiter, the one on top, he was also a waiter there during breakfast and lunch. So we saw the same person breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day, and he knew us. And it's that concept of like familiarity that we kind of enjoyed. He kind of knew people's allergies, he knew drink preferences and everything right off the bat. Like, you have a relationship. Final tip of the video: manage your time on shore properly, because the boat will not hesitate to leave you at the port of call. I want to make that very clear. If you guys haven't seen, there's plenty of videos on YouTube of people who miss the last tender or the last boarding and they get left there. So it's always wise to take your passport with you in case you do get left there. But the whole idea is to not get left there. Plan for your time on shore. Plan activities as well. It's a little bit harder to plan them when you get there. I think that was the thing for us. We hadn't booked anything when we left Sydney. We kind of decided we were go with the flow, and kind of kicked us in the rear a little bit. It's just hard to plan things when you're there and you actually don't have time. You kind of do a very rushed approach and you're like, whatever we can do, we will do. And that is pretty much what we ended up doing. Bubs and I did like a last minute car hire through Uber Car Share. That was like a 2.5 hour process to even get that car. Like, you waste a lot of time. So plan your time on shore. And I will say, if you are doing things within Australia more primarily, Groupon is great. Get a lot of deals through Groupon, but basically the short, plan your days on shore. Okay, that is it for today's video. Now, if you guys have any extra questions, please do not hesitate to ask in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Bye!